money comes, don't worry, don't fear. And every single time that I was worried, I had a pretend worry shelf. And I said, okay, I'm going to this is out of my control. I'm going to put this on my pretend worry shelf and let the universe worry about it. And every single time, money came in somehow.
So I am here with Ann Landstrom. Ann, thank you so much for being here on the podcast with us.
Thank you, Kat, for having me. I'm excited.
Me too. Me too. I'm excited for your interview because you and I have been on a very similar trajectory for the last 8 years. We came up with the portrait system and becoming mentors, for the portrait system education site, and have built our studios kind of simultaneously. And I love your story of triumph. And I don't want to say resilience because I'm so tired of everybody I don't know. I feel like it's a trend to be resilient. But really you came from some very difficult choices in your life, and circumstances and situations, and have built a magnificent business. And I can't wait to hear more about it, to share it with everybody here.
Okay. Would you like me to share what happened and what I did and, all of that?
Well, why don't we start with you telling us who you are, where you are, and what you love about your portrait business. And then we can dive into the nitty gritty stuff.
All right. Sounds good. So I'm Ann Landstrom. I have a photography studio in San Diego, in Carlsbad. I specialize in branding and boudoir mostly. Do portraits in maternity, but that's not my passion. My passion is especially boudoir for women over 40 and branding. So those are my two jams. My avatar clients are mostly women over 40 to 65 that are transitioning from either corporate to their own business, or they're starting their business, or they're struggling with either confidence or struggling with their marketing. And so that's where I love to help.
Well, and I love that, what you're passionate about, especially with, the demographic of women over 40 into their mid 60s and beyond, is focusing, yes, on the branding, but also on the boudoir. Why is that such a passionate space for you?
Because I know how important it is to fall in love with you first before you can fall in love and help other people. So it's like you can hide behind that for so long until people can kind of smell that you're not walking your talk, right? So I feel the boudoir portion is so important, because when you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you look good. So it all comes from the inside out. So I get a lot of women that are in the speaking, author, coaching industry that come out. They fly out from all over the US, and we do both sessions in one day. So we start with branding, and then we have a catered lunch, and then we do boudoir. And they love it. I mean, it changes them, of their business, on how they walk and talk. I mean, if I could have Lisa Nichols, which is one of my icon speakers, she was one of the speakers in the movie The Secret. And I was fortunate enough to, by the law of attraction, get her into my studio, and she became my client. And she had a huge transformation by doing a boudoir session. And if the queen of transformation have a transformation that is speaking for thousands of people worldwide, then I know that, this is definitely something that all women need to experience.
Well, and it shows too that you are walking your true path, right? Like your alignment comes in the space of wanting to help and facilitate confidence with these clients.
Well, it started with me. I stumbled on boudoir photography, and to kind of get into the next, digging into my story, about 12 years ago, I was walking away or thrown out of the house, I should say, by a very narcissistic, verbally and mentally abusive husband. Ended up homeless, no money, no job, nowhere to go. And was very, very depressed, sat and wallowed and was, a victim to my choices until I finally realized, looking at my 6-year-old son in the back seat when I picked him up one day from school, and I had all my suitcases in the back because I wasn't quite sure where I was sleeping the next night. And he said to me, "Mommy, let's go home." And he patted me on my shoulder. And then he said, "Oh, that's right, we don't have a home." So that was like I get teary-eyed just thinking about that. That was my turnaround. Like, okay, nobody's going to come and rescue me. I have to rescue myself. So that was when I kind of became obsessed with manifestation, law of attraction. I was reading any self-help book out there about it, and start following Lisa Nichols and all of that. And then I needed to get a job, and I was looking for, there's not a lot of photography jobs right out there. Either you have your own business, or it's not, you don't get paid a lot as a photographer. But I was not in a position to start my business at the time, so I was looking on Craigslist, and I found a job in Carlsbad, a boudoir photography studio that was looking for a photographer. And I thought, oh, how cheesy. Who the heck wants to have their pictures taken in their underwear and lingerie? And that was the last thing on my mind after coming through. I mean, I was wearing the ugliest underwear I could find just so I didn't have to have sex with my abusive husband. That was like my mental state.
Your defense mechanism was
right. And So anyway, so I went on an interview, and they said, "Yeah, we really like you, and well, you have to be able to work here, you have to be able to go through the process and have a boudoir session." And I'm like, "What? I have to get a lingerie and be photographed? Okay." So yeah, so I had to step in front of the camera, be vulnerable, and that was a big shift. I went home and just tossed all my granny panties out the window, went and bought all new lingerie. And even if it was just for me, I just had a big shift on a new sense of confidence and self-love. And like, this has nothing to do with any other person than me. And then I ended up having the highest sale in this company. She had 16 studios across the country at the time.
Oh, wow.
And I was photographing for the Carlsbad studio, and I was editing for 3 other studios, and had the highest sale in the company. And she goes, "Ann, I don't know what you're doing, but keep on doing it." And I said, I don't know what I'm doing. But then I thought, okay, I know what I'm doing. I'm putting the camera down, and I am connecting with this woman in front of me. And like, why are you here? What's your story? What is your struggles? What do you love about yourself? And then, sometimes I was more of a therapist, and sometimes I was in therapy, and it was like a healing between 2 women. And that's when all the walls came down, and that's when I got the best images. So on that journey, I just kind of fell in love with boudoir and what it did for women, and particularly women that has gone through, childbirth, divorce, maybe they've gone through cancer or other health issues, lost their husband, lost their children. I mean, I've photographed so many women that have just lost themselves in their life, right? And then just to bring back that mojo that they have lost and be able to bring that back to them is just priceless.
I mean, there's so much talk in this industry and in the space about helping people feel seen and heard. But that doesn't only happen when the camera's in front of them, right? It's when you're connecting with them one-on-one as a human being, allowing them to be themselves and showing them that not only is it okay, but look how amazing you feel when you allow that for yourself. Would you say there was like a specific turning point for you between feeling like that victimhood, right, and like where you are today? Was it that boudoir session, or were there like kind of milestones throughout your career?
I mean, that was definitely the turnaround. What happened with that company, she kind of actually ran it to the ground because she ended up not taking care of the people working there, and she got into a lot of lawsuits and so forth. And so I ended up helping a photographer in Orange County that used to be a really top wedding photographer. And she was interested in the whole boudoir industry. And I said, well, I can help you. I know I've been doing this now for a couple of years here, so I can come and help you. She had the money, she had everything. So again, I went and helped her with, taught her boudoir, and we set up, her whole studio on the same kind of basis as the other woman had ran. And the first year she brought in 900,000.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So we're looking at 2013, so
Okay.
boudoir had just started to get like more a big stamp. It
Right.
wasn't as popular. It started to really explode then. And then we unfortunately had an outing about a customer service. I'm all about customer service, and she wasn't as much as me. So there was a blowout there, and I figured, you know what? I pulled in hundreds of thousands of dollars for her. I could do this on my own. And at this time, I had gotten myself situated in a rental house, and I had started to financially get better. I mean, I wasn't broken like I was before. So I started my own boudoir business in my house. I redid my whole garage to a boudoir studio. I photographed women on my living room table, on my kitchen floor. We had champagne and cheese and all that stuff, and I had put together like a reveal wall where I revealed all their images when they came back, and they loved it. I mean, back then, I think my sales average was 2,800, and that was out of my house. So it was all about how I made them feel. And then I had a studio tour with the portrait system, or Supervised Education, that's it was called back then. She's like, Ann, what's next? And I'm like, well, I'll have a studio or two. And she's like, what's stopping you? I'll be putting my big pants on, and it's scary, right? To go and sign a lease and doing all of that stuff. And particularly, I don't have a husband. I don't have a second person bringing in income. So it's all me. And so after that studio tour, I think I had enough confidence that I'm like, okay, I can start over. I've done it now. So if shit hit the fan, excuse my French, and it doesn't work out, I can always start over. And so I went and signed a lease, and never looked back, because now being in my house, I couldn't advertise because you have to have a commercial address, right? So I wasn't able to do any advertisement or anything. So by moving, then I could start running ads and doing things, and then also bring in other business as, branding and commercial headshots and that sort of thing, which I wasn't feeling comfortable having them coming to my house, right? It was different with women, but having businesses.
Different with women that are there for an intimate experience. It's another thing when it's, like a big umbrella corporation is just getting headshots for everybody, and you're walking into somebody's house. Like, I'm not going to go to a lawyer's office and find out that it's in their home. Like that. What?
Yeah. No, exactly. So yeah, I mean, I once, I never looked back. I mean, I do look in the rear mirror, and pat myself on the back sometimes, and like, hey, look where you were, look where you're at now. And is it a magic wand that, you can do this and boom, here you are successful? No, I work a lot. I work long hours. I networking like all the time. I mean, for a while there, I was at 2 networking events a day. Like I went to a breakfast one, and then I maybe went to a lunch one that same day. And networking was one of the things that I was just like not comfortable with. And once I got over that block, it was just like, okay, I got to get out there. And that's how I built my business, was from networking.
So once you got over the block of networking, like what turned networking around for you? Like how many mentees do you talk to? I know I talk to a bunch that are just like, oh, I hate marketing. I hate networking. Like, the general consensus is they walk into a room and it's like, we're all going to die. And I think for everybody, it's a little bit different. You're worried about like that personal rejection, and nobody's going to take me seriously, and imposter syndrome. Was there anything specific that happened for you where you were like, you know what, that fear is real, but this is more important, so I'm going to show up?
Yes, there was a couple things. These two things changed everything. Okay, having a magazine and having these, because then I didn't have to stand there and say, talk about my work. I showed my work. So
show what you want to sell, baby.
Yeah, so that was a huge breakthrough, going networking, and then also having your pitch down, having your 15-second, 30-second, 1-minute pitch of who you are and what you do. It's not about you, it's about what you can do for them. And once you realize how important that is, and I mean, I would just stand and practice in the mirror until I knew it. And because if think about it, when you go a network and somebody asks you, hi, my name is Kat. What's your name? Ann. Oh, hi, Ann. What do you do? Oh, I'm a photographer. Oh, okay. I could have said I was a plumber or electrician, or right. It wouldn't have mattered. But if I said, my name is Ann, and I take my clients to look like rock stars and they feel like royalty. I have a boudoir and branding photography studio in Carlsbad. What do you do? That's
and it changes the dynamic, right? Like it's all about what they're getting. Yeah. No, I love that.
And so it takes some practice and get your pitch down. And now ChatGPT help me. so you can definitely use ChatGPT to help you with that. But I would definitely say practice your pitch. And then another thing that made a huge difference for me at the marketing, and I tell all my mentees, I was like, when you go and look for places, say, women organizations or B&I, whatever it is, before you join, ask them is, number one, can you come as a guest first? So check it out, because sometimes it's not your people. I'll say, ask also, can you have a vendor table, and how much is it? How often can you do it? Is there a limit? And if you have a vendor table, can you have a 1 minute that sometimes they bring all the vendors up and you get like 1 minute to do your pitch. And so that's what I would ask first before I would join anything. And that's how I built my business. I had a vendor table at each place that I went. And because if you go in a room with 100 women, 80 women, you're not going to have a chance to talk to everybody at a meeting. But guess what? You have a table, everybody's going to come and look at your stuff. Yep. And you're going to get to go up and stand and do a pitch. So
that's one of the things, when it comes to sponsoring events and groups like that, like we receive these like sponsorship requests and it's like, we'll give you a logo on a step and repeat and da-da-da-da-da. And like, I look at all of that stuff as negotiable. Like just because you've designed packages for how you want my money or my contribution doesn't mean that I have to accept that. And you know what? I would much rather have a table at the event, have an opportunity to speak to everyone there. I can bring assistants with me to book sessions and showcase my work, right? Or ambassadors that I've photographed that are already in the room.
Yeah.
When you can set yourself up with authority that way, like, I love that you went down the road of like, okay, our vendor table is an option. Like, how do I position myself here? All of these ways are terrific ways to position yourself as the authority in what it is that you do. And you do that so well. I can imagine that's probably why you're working with Lisa Nichols and other, coaching and speaker people. Cause you're not just talking about like local speakers. You work with some really pretty big names.
I think because of what I've been through. Okay. Number one, I'm an immigrant. I came here from a different country. I didn't know anybody. I was growing up like in a very equal society. Like men and women are equal in Sweden. The men get to stay home and take care of the babies. So I never saw myself as not an equal to anybody going through that marriage when, married to a narcissist, because let me tell you, you're not an equal in that relationship. And so it took me a while to kind of get back to myself after that. But then whenever I was somewhere, I would go up and I would just introduce myself and say, hey, I really enjoyed your speech. I love what you do. And, I'm a branding and boudoir photographer. If you ever are in town, I would love to compliment you on a session. Here is my...
Yes.
And that's how Lisa Nichols got into my studio. This card sat on her, she told me, she sat on her nightstand for 4 months. It was a boudoir one. And I was going to do her, she had said she needed branded photos. And I said, well, maybe you wanted to try some boudoir. And she's like, nah. And I was like, hey, oh, here, just take this and think about it. That's what I said when I met her the first time at a networking event where she was speaking after 4 months. And she said to me, you know what? I was afraid to call you because I was afraid to see what the camera was capturing on me. So, yeah, so I think, to go back to your question, I always felt like an equal. I never felt like, yeah, you're a great speaker or a great entrepreneur or a millionaire or whatever. I mean, I even photographed a billionaire, and I never felt small or like they were. I always felt like you're just ahead of me. I might be a billionaire one day, who knows? But it's I think that just coming across like you're not like, oh, I'm so grateful to be in your presence. You know, I was never like that, and I think that's what they got attracted to me, because of my energy.
A friend of mine is really great at that whole, like, he says, I talk to celebrities the same way I talk to cops. Like, they're just people. Okay. I mean, I might, depending on the energy of the cop, like, want to make sure that, you know, there's respect in the room. He's like, but there's always respect in the room. I don't care if you're in a metal band or if you're Elton John or if you're Detective so-and-so, like, we're all just human. And when I started thinking about that and moving into the space of networking specifically, because I'm an extrovert, and there's always, you know, the introverts are always like, I can't network. Extroverts get that belly butterfly bit too, guys. But it was when I started thinking about it, like, they're just people. They're more interested in themselves than they are in me. So as long as I'm memorable and I'm staying in service, right? Like, this is what I do and how it affects you and so on and so forth. And you incorporate branding in boudoir for all of your sessions, or you just invite them into the boudoir space?
When I have a branding client on the phone that is booking, I bring up boudoir. When I have a boudoir client, I bring up branding. And I said they both go, hand in hand. It will elevate you, to do both sessions from the inside out. So it's not like I have to sell it. I just have to show. I have to show the work and show the testimonials, and then it sells itself. Because I think we women, now after women has being allowed now to be CEOs and running for presidencies, and it wasn't that long ago we couldn't even vote.
Yeah. Well, It was 1977 that women were allowed to get credit cards in their own name.
Yeah.
Right. And that was 46 years ago. Like,
so it's not that long time ago that, just to be able to tap into your feminine, I think feminine superpower. And because once we get out there and the push, we get very into the masculine energy, and we lose that feminine energy. I mean, me, I had a male coach, and he's like, when I hugged him goodbye, and he's like, Ann, you hug like a guy. You need to hug like a woman. And I'm like, but I'm the mom and the dad in the house, right? So it's like you take on all this masculine energy. So I think the boudoir session really helps you tap into that feminine essence that I think is a superpower that we have.
Well, and I would agree with that, right? They don't call it Father Earth, it's Mother Earth. And Mother Earth is like, has the presence to create and destroy, right? Yeah. So like that femininity, like, don't mess around. Yeah.
It's particularly, when you get some women that are just a 180, like on everything, they're just like, boom, this changed my life. And I have a fire under my booty now, and boo, 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 boo. I feel great. I've got my confidence back. Yeah. Sometimes it's just
understanding that ripple effect too, I think is paramount. And that's not relegated only to portrait photographers. That comes in many shapes and forms and industries. But when we're talking about branding and boudoir specifically, portrait in general, the confidence that you facilitate for others allows them to go out and make different choices in the world, model their humanity differently for their children and their grandchildren, their partners and spouses and their families and their friends, to ask for the raise, to quit the job, to start the company. And all of the byproducts of that confidence ripple out into the world, not just in their world, but into the world around them. And I think that's what makes it so powerful. So to have a focus on that confidence specifically, and that being the transformation that you're offering, the photos are the byproduct of that. Like, they're the visual, tangible evidence of that version of themselves existing, which can bring people right back into that moment. And you've really evolved that and sort of scaled that into like the education side, haven't you? Like, in how you're growing both the boudoir and the branding in your community for your mentees. Like, what is that looking like for you in the next year?
No, my number one thing is I am building my whole new system, because you can't grow as an entrepreneur until you have your house in order. And that is your CRM and client relationship management system. And I am right now bringing everything, all my systems. When I started my business, or when I put my big girl pants on and actually signed my lease and became a business owner, when I had to get all the legalities and everything in order, I was looking for a system that had everything, and I couldn't find one that had like all the components. So you got to go in and you got to have 5 different systems, and they don't talk. So you have to get a system to talk to all these other systems. And it's a lot, all right? It's a lot to manage. It's a lot. Money adds up every month. It's $30 here, $50 there. Oh, now when you have more than 5,000 clients, it's going to go up another $1,000 a year or whatever. And I'm like, what? And it's this system. It's I'm moving everything into this. So in the system, you can also from the beginners to advanced. Right, for photographers. So you can have your beginner system put in there, and then you can have memberships, courses, multiple brands. And so I'm building all of this stuff out, and I say I'm about 80% there. And it's been a big beast. I'm working with marketer that is helping me do this, and then a couple of VAs that are helping moving stuff and organizing everything and all of that. So once that is done, it will be more or less like a business in a box for photographers. So you just pick where you're at, and you can grow with it. So it will have all your campaigns and everything already done for you. All you need to do is just put in your stuff, and so it's coming. It's like I said, it's a lot, because there's a lot of automations and funnels and all that needs to be built. And if you ever build a funnel automation, you know what I'm talking about. It's not like our creative brain type of work, right? It's like stuff. It's like doing your laundry. That's how exciting it is.
Attention to detail is the thing. Make sure this triggers on. And
yes. So it's a lot of little things. So that's. And the name of it's going to be called Studio CEO Suite when it's done. And so that's one thing I'm working on. And then I have put together a bunch of material for photographers. I have 3 branding or 3 posting magazines that it's. I can show you one. Whoops.
Well, your posing library, I saw it at the Portrait Masters this year. Like, nobody touches this library, you guys. Like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah,
I
so
can't
I have 3
imagine the number of photo shoots that took to put into place.
Yeah, so these I have 3 of them. One is called the Ageless CEO. Then I have Branding CEO, which is for women and for men. But for example, this one is all women over 40 that I shot
Okay.
boudoir, and these are all clients. So all of these poses have sold in here. And the way I have organized it's from sitting to standing to laying down on the floor, laying on the couch, all of that. So you can just, what I use this for in my studio is I give it to them when they sit in hair and makeup. And I say, here, and here's, what do you call it? Stick-em notes. Here's a stick-em note thingy. Go through here and see if there's anything particularly that you're really drawn to. So we could do that for your session. And so that's one way you could do it. And then I have the same thing for women and for men. So this one is all men's branding. Mm-hmm. Same thing, all different sitting, standing, lifestyle, all clients' work that I have photographed. And I've been fortunate enough to photograph a lot of men.
All right. That's
something that I've been working on. And then if I can just show one more thing, which is my prep guides. So the posing guides are physical products. So if you're interested in those, they will come as a magazine. And these are a prep guide, and this is mine. This is for boudoir, and these are a Canva template. So you can go in and just drop your things in here. So for example, let me just show you one thing that I really like about this is, say for example, you are wall art, okay? So you sell your collection. So all your collections are put out here in here for you. All you need to do is just name them and put your price. And the same thing for your folio boxes and all of that. So I have these for branding, boudoir, and portrait.
Well, I think it's pretty terrific. Like watching the evolution, because, you know, when you and I first met was 2017, I think. Yeah. And it was at Sue Bryce's studio in Los Angeles. If you've ever been with anybody that can be really confident, it can feel almost aggressive how confident they are. And Ann's not aggressive in any way. Like she's just open and receiving and giving at the same time. And I think that's probably your superpower with your clients, especially when we're talking about, you know, branding and boudoir and moving into that space and like having the confidence enough to bet on yourself, even when, you know, life was really probably presenting a lot of questions.
Yeah. Well, I think that doesn't come, that you just don't wake up one day like that. I've done a lot of work on myself. And so it comes with developing a sense of authenticity of who you are. Like I'm just like we were talking about before, I'm the same way with my kids as I am with, you know, a client or with a famous or infamous. I'm just me. I'm not. The only thing that stands between you and your goals and dreams is the bullshit story you keep telling yourself.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. And, you know, it's funny because sometimes we don't realize that it's bullshit. Like we developed that story based on something that we assumed as truth at some earlier period in our lives, whether childhood or as an adult, right? Like we made a decision that this thing was true. And then you go on with your life and you realize that that decision that you made, however many years ago, developed or undeveloped, has completely shifted the trajectory of your life because of that assumption that it was true in the moment.
Yeah.
And when I realized that, I was like, I started dismantling all kinds of stuff. I was like, maybe you aren't fat and ugly and stupid. Maybe you just took on that opinion as somebody's truth and it had nothing to do with you. And like from then on, like it just keeps unfolding like an onion, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's interesting how somebody's opinion of you can make such a difference in your life that it can be a curse for the rest of your life or for as long as you let it. Like, for example, I give you it was so stupid, but it changed me for 25 years. Okay. Some guy in, I think, 6th to 7th grade. And today I have my hair blown out straight. And I used to blow out my hair straight for 25 years. I have very curly hair because this
very curly hair.
Very, very curly. Yes. So this guy said to me, "You look like you have pubic hair on your head." And that was it. And that was the last day I had curly hair for 25 years.
Oh, that's just some 12-year-old boy wishing he had pubic hair. That's all.
So I always say, like, yeah, he's probably bald and fat today, like, karma. Okay. Oh,
the
God.
quote I was looking for was, "I want to unfold. Let no place hold itself closed, for where I am closed, I am false."
Beautiful.
Yeah. And that is Rainer Maria Rilke. And I really appreciated that because I spent a long time, like from childhood through my adult life. And even still, I catch myself doing it today, where I do close myself off as a method of protection. I actually developed confidence, right, to make myself appear larger, right? And I'm pretty tall, like you and I think you might even be a little taller than I am. But I'm right around 5'9". And I was always, a pretty husky kid, right? And I was picked on a lot growing up. And so, I was like, well, maybe if I don't appear small and broken and beaten down, people will leave me alone. And so I started showing up, walking taller and holding my chin up and like, what? But I found like that closed me off from the people around me that I wanted to be close to. It really wasn't until I appreciated that as a defense mechanism versus, oh, Kat's just confident, that I realized that I wasn't appearing confident at all. I was just bullshitting my way through life until I could figure out, like whether or not I was safe. It's very primal.
Yeah. But once you get those breakthroughs, it's like, wow, freedom. It's like one fear that I had of networking. I was like, I couldn't even, I know Kitty McMillan and I was talking about it. I couldn't even give out my business card or ask somebody for their email or phone number to send my stuff. I was just like, oh, can't do that. And, but once I broke through that, it was like, oh my God, I can't believe that I couldn't even talk about what I do because I felt so sleazy, salesy. And once I broke through that, it was like no looking back. And I was just thinking, God, look at all those lost opportunities. Fear it all creeps in, all of us sometimes, right? We all get that creeping in. It's just
and fear really is just an indicator that you don't know something. And so for all of us that are pretty type A and want to be in control of our environment and our day, we can be fearful when, by not understanding how someone might respond to something means that we're no longer in control and what will they think of me? And, you go down that imposter rabbit hole. Yeah. But as a business owner, you realize, hey, it's my job to ask for those opportunities, to create those opportunities, to ask for their contact information. Yeah. Because they don't know that you're asking for it because you may want to send them something. But as a business owner, it's our job to connect with others and be in that as opportunity instead of running from it because we're afraid of money or wanting to appear stinky or sleazy or whatever, when it's those money blocks that are really what are showing up for you.
No, and the whole money block, oh my gosh, before you can ask for money. I mean, that was also and growing up with parents that they were not entrepreneurs, and they were always like, hey, money doesn't grow on trees and we can't afford that. And it's deep seated until you break through about that money is fluent, money comes. And that's when I was going through my homeless period. There was so many times so I didn't know how to pay for things. I mean, I have another thing that I have sitting on my desk is a little plastic jar it's about half filled with coins and it has a big crack on the bottom of it. And I knew when I had that jar full of coins, I could put gas in my car. That's how big I was. Okay. And the crack is because I threw it across the room. I'd never be here again. God damn it. And that's just a reminder that to me that money comes, don't worry, don't fear. And every single time that I was worried, I had a pretend worry shelf. And I said, okay, I'm going to put, this is out of my control. I'm going to put this on my pretend worry shelf and let the universe worry about it. And every single time money came in somehow.
That's awesome. I went to that self-value workshop that we went to earlier in the year, and Sue Bryce gave everybody, $1 million checks.
Yeah.
And they're from Sue Bryce, right? They're not, but there was so much, like the responses everybody had to it, myself included, when it was like time to write your name on it. And I think you looked at me and you were like, at a zero. Right. But I still keep that. Yeah. Right. And because that's my monthly income. That's the goal.
Yeah. No, everything is possible, right? As long as you it's all about mindset. Like everything is about mindset. And now I think because of all the work that I've done through mindset and self-development and everything, I can easily talk myself out of the negativity. I mean, it shows up and then I'm like, nope, not today.
Is there anything specific that you have on repeat that you revisit in that like self-development space that helps bring you back around? Right? Like you said, you could talk yourself out of it pretty quickly. Is that just like you're aware of it and shift?
Yeah,
or
I mean, there's a couple that I listen to. The power of your subconscious mind is one, which is very because your subconscious mind is running 90%, and 10% is your conscious mind. So it's a very interesting book of how you can program yourself, to because the unconscious mind doesn't know time, or you can just tell it stuff and you can reprogram it. And it's very interesting. I got certified in NLP years ago, and we were talking a lot about the unconscious, which is the conscious mind. And it's very interesting to me, and also how much we can actually be more in control of our thoughts as more aware we become. So that's a really great book of becoming aware of recognizing your thoughts and different energy in the thoughts and how you process it. So I love that book. And then also Think and Grow Rich with Napoleon Hill. That's I think is a must read for everybody that are in business. I don't know if anybody knows Clubhouse, but that was a big app during COVID, and I was on there constantly, and I still go on there because I've gotten some great speakers are still hosting rooms there, and there's a lot of like mindset rooms. So I'm constantly in there listening when I'm home editing or working on the computer. I put that on. And what's nice about that is that you can press the microphone and raise your hand and you can go in and talk to these people. So sometimes, for the example, one of my first law of attraction books was by Michael Lassier. I think it was called The Art of Law of Attraction or something like that. That was my first book of law of attraction, and I got in on Clubhouse, and I saw he had a room, and at that time he was the only one there. So I actually got to go up and talk to him just personally, just him and I having a conversation, which was, I mean, that's just the law of attraction right then and there. Like I ended up being with him, and I told him, I said, "This is crazy. You're the first book that I ever read about the law of attraction, and here I am, and now just you and me in the Clubhouse room." So that's what I love about Clubhouse. You never know who you end up talking to, who could be your next client or your next connection, your next, whatever. And I ended up on a podcast last Sunday with a woman. She calls herself Diamond Diva. And she had a huge following on Clubhouse. And I think she has over 150,000 followers on Instagram. But she invited me to be a guest just because we met on Clubhouse. And so you just never know. That's what I love about those audio apps, that you just don't know
Yeah. No, Twitter or X, whatever it is now, has an audio space that's
Yes.
similar to Clubhouse as well. That's picking up some momentum. And if you're in the space of not necessarily serving the local markets, but more of a global or a national audience, I think those opportunities are really terrific.
Yeah, LinkedIn, I think, has one too. And so they're popping up. There's one called Fan Base. I know Clubhouse went through a big rebuild, and a lot of people got really mad and left. So there's definitely, you just find there's one called Clapper. Just find the one that you like and be on there. And you like I said, you just don't know who you're going to meet on there.
But as far as like Ann Landstrom herself, like, what are you really excited about? What are you creating? What's next for you?
Oh my goodness. My passion is with the boudoir, right? That's where my heart lays because of what it did for me, and also helping, in give back in the domestic abuse community. So I did a summit last year on 2/22/22, which was called Ageless. And I had a campaign running where I photographed, I think, about 70 women between 40 and 90. And my cover girl is the 90-year-old.
That's terrific.
If she can do it, anybody can do it.
Anybody can.
And it was a very empowering summit. We had maybe 150 ladies that showed up. And I had 6 really top-notch speakers that are my clients that had also been photographed for the magazine. And it was people stayed to the end. It was 3.5 hours long. I mean, it's like nobody wanted to go home. Everybody was like still hanging in there. So I'm growing that brand. I today got, and as I told you before we started this recording, I got my Ageless brand trademarked.
Yes.
So I get Nat just put a little R on there, and nobody else can use that name. And which is so it's trademarked for in the photography industry and also for the magazine. So what I'm working on is creating a whole brand around being ageless, and particularly a woman over 40. So I do have a lot of things cooking with doing a white label lingerie line, and create a whole store with products and everything. So yeah, and then having the magazine. So the magazine is the Ageless, and then the brand itself would be called Ageless Lifestyle.
Well, and I love that, having that trademark actually positions you really well to build an empire for the most underserved. Well, I don't want to say the most underserved demographic, because I don't mean like it's minority space, but in the space
I would say
unseen demographic, right? And, there's a lot of evidence that serves that, women over 50 are the largest spending demographic in the world. But even outside of the cash value of it is, these women, myself included, get into this space, and it can be really upsetting where your money isn't as good as the person next to you, and you aren't seen because maybe you don't fit a specific mold. And being able to champion that demographic with your work, and I think is going to change the trajectory. Like that stack of $120,000 on your desk. Yeah, it's time to double it, my friend.
I'm working on getting like one celebrity that would, be the spokesperson for the brand. Once I get that, I think it's just going to take off.
What advice would you give yourself? Something that you wish you knew then that you know now?
Not worry so much about the how. And just take 3 things or 5 things every single day that brings you forward. And if you have some setback, it's okay. It's just push the reset button. You have a new day tomorrow. And I'll sometimes ended up being depressed and wasn't feeling good for a day or two, but then I snapped myself out of it. So I think just give yourself grace. It's not sunny every single day, but don't worry so much about the how. I think we get so wrapped up in the how rather than what's coming down the road, and just walk towards that. And the love for doing what you do. I mean, I feel as of yet, I'm not tired of photographing people or doing all of that. I mean, people ask me, what do you do? What do you do when you're not working? And I'm like, working, because I love what I do. I love it. I love working. I love building. And right now I'm just in the building phase. So I was like, Ann, are you dating? I'm like, no, I don't have time for men right now. I just building my business, and then it's okay.
When I'm ready for that connection, it will appear, right?
Yeah. Once, I mean, if he walked in the door right now and it was the right guy, I wouldn't turn him down. Let's put it that way. But I'm not.
Well, Ann, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so excited about everything that's coming down the pike for both of us.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
My Gemini sister. You can find me on annphotography.com and also studioageless.com, where I'm doing rebranding right now. So Studio Ageless is the brand going forward. So either one of those. And if you're interested in any of my products, you can email me at hello@studioageless.com. Yeah.
Thank you so
much for having me today. And also best of wishes with your podcast and everything that you're doing.
All right, you guys, have a wonderful day, and we will see you very soon on the Studio Takeover.